Good evening and a very warm welcome to your news bulletin with Television Tonga. Making headlines, Whole House Committee approves to remove Section 3E from the Family Protection Bill 2013. Dafolosa Bloomfield remanded in custody until her sentencing in October after jurors found her guilty for embezzlement. And a 15% hike on tobacco's duty and excise tax put in place to reduce tobacco-related risks. These and more stories, together with the news from around the region, sports, world, and the latest weather. I'm Fatai Whaingaa. You're watching Television Tonga News. The Whole House Committee yesterday passed the ballot to remove Section 3E of the Family Protection Bill 2013. This is part of the committee's discussions on the bill yesterday. Kalolaini Tonglawa takes up that story.
Section 3E of the bill states, enact provisions that are consistent with certain principles underlying the Declaration on the Elimination of Violence Against Women and the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, and the Conventions on the Rights of the Child. The removal of Section 3E from the Family Protection Bill 2013 comes after strong debate from People's Representative for Tongatapu 8, Sione Taione, during the discussions of the Whole House Committee yesterday. Mr. Taione believes that with Section 3E of the bill, it means that sections of the bill will be enacted to be in line with the true principles of the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or known as CEDAW. The representative for Tongatapu 8 continued on saying that from their recent discussions regarding the bill, the CEDAW Convention has no relation with the issue of same-sex marriage. However, Mr. Taione does not agree to this, while saying he believes that the content of the convention relates to this issue of same-sex marriage. During the discussions on the bill, the Honourable Minister of Education and Training, Dr. Ana Taufilungaki, was against the proposal from Mr. Taione to remove Section 3E of the Family Protection Bill 2013. Mr. Taufilungaki told the Whole House Committee that she agrees with the issue raised by the Honourable Minister of Police regarding Section 3E of the Family Protection Bill 2013. She says the purpose of this bill is to enact sections that are similar with the issues that they are currently discussing. Dr. Taufilungaki believes these are the basic foundation of the bill, where it does not require enacting sections from outside, but only within the context of the bill. Meanwhile, during the discussions, the People's Representative for Tongatapu 8 continued with his debates regarding his disapproval of the CEDAW Convention. He told members of the Whole House Committee that he believes that this particular section of the Family Protection Bill 2013 uses the basic principles from the CEDAW Convention, which allows a particular country to enact or draft a bill that relates to the principles of the Convention. Such principles, according to Mr. Taione, relates to the issue of same-sex marriage. Furthermore, the Education Minister told the committee that the Convention does not have the authority to force a country to draft any bill that is not relevant or fit with the society or the environment of that country. However, the Convention allows the country to draft any bill or enact any sections to the bill that brings benefits for the country as a whole. Dr. Taufilungaki says that the principles of the CEDAW Convention is not in line with the issue of same-sex marriage, as revealed by Tongatapu 8 People's Representative. Meanwhile, in passing the removal of Section 3E from the bill, 12 members of the Whole House Committee were in favor of this, while 7 members did not approve, including the Honourable Minister of Education and Training, Dr. Taufilungaki. The Family Protection Bill 2013 is yet to be passed by the Whole House Committee. For Television Tonga News, I'm Kalolaini Tonglawa.
The 15% hike in the duty and excise tax on tobacco is part of an attempt to reduce numbers of local tobacco consumers. This is according to the Honourable Minister of Inland Revenue, Police, Fire Department and Prisons, Sosifatu Tafaiva, in an interview with Radio and Television Tonga News this morning. Sinilatu reports.
The tax hike in tobacco was initiated to reduce the risk of non-communicable diseases due to consuming of tobacco, such as cancer. Many have argued that this new hike is the government's initiative to generate more income to its economy, but this is part of their move to reduce numbers of vulnerabilities to non-communicable diseases, or NCDs. Our target for this new fiscal year alone is estimated at 126 million pa'anga. However, our profit in the last financial year has exceeded this amount, in which we collected more than 128 million pa'anga. The minister says it has been evident that billions of dollars have been spent on treating tobacco-related diseases. Tobacco manufacturers earn more than $1 billion every year from the tobacco consumers, which are a great loss for the family's income. Such expenses should have been allocated on other important matters rather than treating tobacco-related patients. The minister says this is part of his presentation to the 10th Asia-Pacific Conference on Tobacco that was held in Tokyo, Japan. The minister was invited to the meeting by the World Health Organization, WHO, to speak on Tonga's standards on tobacco-related risks. For Television Tonga News, I'm Sinilato.
7 jurors at the Supreme Court yesterday found the accused, Tafolosa Bloomfield, guilty for embezzlement. The decision comes after Mrs. Bloomfield pleaded not guilty to the charges made against her. Justice Charles Cato ordered for the accused to remain in custody until October 22nd for her sentencing. Kalisi Tuyonuku reports.
The legal representative for the accused, Manaka Fusi, requested the accused to be released on bail, but Justice Cato says this is a clear case and most serious of this kind and refused the request. Mrs. Bloomfield was convicted for embezzlement of more than 200,000 pa'anga while she was a senior travel consultant at the Forum Travel. Forum Travel is under the Air New Zealand. Mrs. Bloomfield performed the allocation while she was a term of employment in September 2009 to March 2010. Meanwhile, the co-accused Whangatua Whakawā pleaded guilty for similar charges of embezzlement valued at 88,000 pa'anga and will be sentencing delivered next Friday. Amina Skefu was the counsel from the Crown for this case and was assisted by Sione Sisfa.
New Zealand's Chief of Defence, Lieutenant General Rhys-Jones, will arrive Nuku'alofa tomorrow in a goodwill visit to Tonga. The Tonga Defence Force headquarters in Nuku'alofa reveals this to Radio and Television Tonga News this morning. Lieutenant General Jones will visit Tonga in a New Zealand's Defence Special Air Force, followed by his wife and 10 senior officials from New Zealand's force. While in Tonga, he will hold talks with the commander of Tonga Defence Force, Brigadier General Ta'aikau Ta'ato, on various developments to strengthen ties of both the forces. While in Nuku'alofa, he will also officiate at the handover ceremony of several assistants from the Australian, New Zealand and British attaché to Tonga at the Camp Taliai. Lieutenant General Rhys-Jones and his team will depart Tonga on Saturday. The domestic air carrier Real Tonga will start using its new airfares for the MH60 aircraft next month, September 2nd. The Chief Executive Officer of the airline, David Tapalo, confirmed this during a press conference this morning. Sinilato was there and filed this report.
Real Tonga's new airfare rates for its domestic flights will only be used for the MH60 aircraft. It is different from the airfare rates applied for the other 3 aircrafts that they are operating. According to the Chief Executive Officer of the airline, David Tapalu, the reason between the differences in the airfares is to be able to look after each aircraft. Real Tonga Airline is currently leasing the MH60 aircraft from the government, which is scheduled for domestic operations between Tongatapu and Vava'o. Mr. Panu said the new airfares will begin from 225 pa'anga for one way. The CEO of Real Tonga says This is the outcome of the discussions between the airline and the government. We worked together with the government aiming to help the people. What the government wants is similar to what we want, and that is to offer fares that people can afford. The government hopes to reduce the airfare rates to make it much cheaper and at the same time to be able to operate the airline in terms of finance. Mr. Panu said when discussing the new fares, they also reviewed other factors. The nature of people traveling is seasonal from January to December. There are busy times, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes the flights are directional, like there are many people flying into Vava'u, and then there aren't so many coming back to Tonga. Sometimes most of the passengers are children, and there are times that there are more adults. When it's like this, then we put up a policy to balance it out throughout the year. The only way we think to balance that out is to put a condition for the airfares to be able to control it and still generate money to help operate the airline and its aircraft. The CEO of the airline emphasized that they are doing their very best in terms of their airfare rates for the people and at the same time to generate money to keep the aircraft flying. Although the MA60 is only scheduled to fly between Tongatapu and Vava'u, but work is underway to include the island of Hawaii in that schedule.
The Ministry of Police is concerned over the misunderstanding through communications with the public, which affects the ministry's role towards ensuring the safe and security of the people and their properties. The Deputy Police Commissioner, Sokai Matopoka, reveals this to Television Tonga News. Anastia Falicano reports.
The Deputy Police Commissioner says they received complaints regarding some of the reports from the public, but on the way to the crime scene, the victim called again and cancelled the complaint. Mr. Moto'opuaka refers to one of the complaints made during the weekends from the Nuku'alofa area. The Batangata incident is one of the good examples of the problem that we've faced. The injured party calls and made the complaint around 3 in the afternoon on Sunday that a group of teenage boys attacked their home. We therefore sent 2 officers to the home of the victim to settle the matter. But when they got there, the victim said to cancel the complaint for they will settle the matter outside. But when it reached Monday, the incident worsened. The Deputy Police Commissioner says on Monday this week, the same victim called and launched another complaint on the same matter after an attack carried out by the suspect. We're trying our best to uphold our duty and we never give up on trying to convince the public to report cases in which they believe that affects them. However, due to the cancellation of the Batangata case, the victim ended up at the hospital. Meantime, the Deputy Police Commissioner emphasized the importance for the public to work together with this ministry. Anasio Falekano for Television Tonga News.
There is hope for a better and clean water supplies in the future for villages in Tongatapu. The villages are therefore advised to ensure sustainable operation of their own water systems. This comes after local representatives from each community-run water supply participated in a workshop that aims to teach the participants on ways to effectively manage the water system. Linda Filia reports.
Local community representative from the society who operates their own village water supply, they are coming together to attend a water safety workshop in Nuku'alofa. Speaking to Radio and Television Tonga News, an expert from New Zealand, John Tennis, says he's here to facilitate the program and also to provide advice for the participants.
The main purpose of the training is to bring a new concept or a new process of water treatment and water management to Tonga. With the traditional approach to water supplies is to rely on infrastructure and different types of treatment processes and so on. The new way to look after water is to actually be more proactive about looking after the water supply, to understand more about the hazards that can affect the quality of the water, and then to put in place controls at different stages of the process to ensure that those hazards or those issues that we can have are addressed and mitigated.
Meanwhile, the supervising health inspector from the Ministry of Health, Niu Fagovika Tau, says they're hoping to design a water safety plan which can be used in all villages in Tonga. Town officer and chairman from each of the water committees from 18 villages in Tonga, also with the related stakeholders who are participating on this program, are sharing ideas about water safety issues. The program is funded by the World Health Organization, or WHO.
The laying of the first foundation for Tupo High School's memorial building to commemorate the school's Golden Jubilee was led by the Secretary of the Free Wesleyan Church of Tonga, Reverend Dr. David Tahavea, then followed by ex-students. Whanonga Vekosa was there and filed this report.
This is the completion of the laying of the first foundation of Tupo High School's memorial building to commemorate the Golden Jubilee, and will also be a new office for the staff and a storage for the equipment. The construction of the memorial building is estimated around 500,000 pa'anga, funded by the ex-students and money collected from the school celebration. Speaking to Radio and Television Tonga News, the principal of Tupo High School, Reverend Tupulotu Finau, says the building will be very useful, for it will provide a new working office. The building is one-story building. The bottom floor will be a lab science and a storage for the school equipment, and the top floor will be the staff's offices. Reverend Tupulotu says funding of the construction is also by the money collected from the school day celebration. Funding the construction is also the money that the school collected from the school celebration. Bills were paid and other school needs were provided. The leftovers were used for the construction. The building is located at the school's Valoloa branch. The work is expected to be completed before the school celebration next year.
That's the local news. Pacific is up next.